Hi boys and girls. Last week we read Harry the Dirty Dog in reading. And we're going to continue working with that book, but this week what we're going to do is we're going to be working on 3 different types of connections so that we can understand the characters more and the plot, what's happening in the book a little bit more. There are 3 different types of connections. A text-to-text connection when we compare the book to another book. Text-to-self connection when it reminds us of something that has happened in our own lives. And a text-to-world connection, when it reminds us of something that's happened in the real world. And I'll go over those now with you. Part of being a good reader is knowing how to make text connections. We'll talk about the 3 different types of connections now. A text-to-self connection is when something in the story reminds us of something that has happened to you before in your own life. An example is, in the text, Harry stops and looks at everything going on in the town. This reminds me of my dog because he is always watching people when we go for walks. Text-to-text connection is when you are reading a book and it reminds you of another book that you've read. It might be similar characters, it might be something similar has happened in the book. It could be a book in the same series, or it could just be a totally different book by a different author. An example of the text-to-text connection is, in the story, Harry goes on an adventure in his town. That reminds me of the story Tonight on the Titanic, because the dog Teddy goes on an adventure with Jack and Annie. Text-to-world connection is when you are reading a book and it reminds you of something that you've heard about or seen out in the real world. Using the text-to-world connections, we can say that the text says, Harry lives with a really nice family. This reminds me of when I heard about so many nice families adopting animals from animal shelters on the news, and that was happening in the real world. I was able to use the book Harry the Dirty Dog to make all 3 types of connections: text-to-text, text-to-self, and text-to-world. You're going to do that in your own books this week, and it will help you better understand the characters and the plot, what's happening in your books. So good luck, and I can't wait to see the connections you're making this week.